Hello everyone, hope you are doing absolutely fine. So today I'm here to solve one of your biggest problems, that is solving the MCQ booklet, right? So ma'am, the MCQ booklet, we opened it ma'am. For GST we decided we'll do it, we opened it, but there were 50 MCQs, right? 50 case scenario booklet. The booklet itself is for around some 100 plus pages. How am I going to do it before exam, right? So don't worry, we have you covered for that. So I will be solving all the 50 MCQs and this will be uploaded freely on our official YouTube channel. So you can go and refer to them. Ma'am, that is okay ma'am. I'll refer now. I'll do it along with you. Or maybe in case I have some doubts, I'll refer yours. So all of that is fine ma'am. But how do I revise it 1.5 day before the exam? Because you just don't have GST to study. You also have your income tax that has to be studied in 1.5 day. And the volume of income tax is comparatively much huge. Right? So how am I going to cover these MCQs? I want to revise them before exams also. But if I sit to solve it before exams, 2 to 3 hours will go in that itself. Right? So you cannot do that obviously, right? So the thing that we have come up for you is we have made a summary of all the concepts that have been tested in the MCQs, right? Case study wise, all the concept. In case, let's say it's a case study 1. If you look at this particular booklet, case study 1, it's about what? Let's see. It's about this company known as Sambhav Limited, right? And let's say in the question they would have asked you some 4-5 chapters related concept. Like if you see the first concept, it is related to returns chapter. The second concept is related to ITC chapter. The third concept is related to TDS. Then it is TCS. Then they have asked you something about time of supply. So there are different concepts that have been asked. We have case study wise told in this question what is the concept that is tested. In the second question of case study 1, what is the concept that has been tested, and created a booklet of 5 pages which comprises all the points and concepts that were covered in the case study. So you can solve it once, but for the second time when you want to revise it before exam, you just go through all that summary points. So there are 2 benefits. One is you revise the concepts very quickly, and second is everything in the case study also will be covered with you. Right? In the exam, they will not ask you a similar case study, obviously, right? They will redraft it, but there is a possibility they can ask a similar point, a similar provision. Now that also gets covered. So before you start for your exam, even when you're traveling to your exam hall, within 30 to 45 minutes, you can revise all that 5 pages and all your 50 MCQs concepts will be covered, right? So how do I get this, ma'am? The entire solved PDF of the case scenario that we have used in this particular video and the upcoming videos for the case scenarios, along with this 4 to 5 pager of summary of the case scenarios, is uploaded in our official Telegram channel. So below this YouTube video, there is a particular description box, or in the comment section also I will pin the link. You can click on that, get inside the channel and download this PDF also for free, right? So without any delay, let's get to the case study and start solving them. Hello everybody, welcome to the series where we are going to be revising the case studies of your indirect tax. There are around 50 case studies which are there in this booklet. Do not worry, we will discuss all of them, right? So let's start with the first case scenario. So case scenarios eppadi ma'am irukum appadina ivlo periya kadha kuduthirukangale idu fullavume padikkanumana? The answer is yes. But some case studies you will see that the questions that have been asked after the big fat story might not be relevant to the case study. They would have directly jumped into the question, right? Or there might be some case studies where to get the information to solve the question, like to know about the time of supply, you have to know the date of invoice, the date of payment. That you will come to know only when you read the case scenario, right? Or if you want to find out value of supply, then you have to read the case scenario. So it depends on case scenarios to case scenario. Some might be direct, easier, while others will have to read the case scenario to get a complete understanding. So ma'am, what do I do? Means before you start the case scenario, I always suggest the students, please have an overview of what are the questions that have been asked and from which topics, okay? Now, for example, if you look at the case scenario 1, the first question, they have asked about due date of filing the final return. The second question is somewhere relating to reavailment of ITC. The third is somewhere related to TDS. Fourth is related to TCS. And the last is related to continuous supply of service. What is the time of supply in case it is a continuous supply of service, okay? Now we have a broad idea. They have asked from time of supply, TDS, TCS they have asked, returns chapter they have asked, and ITC they have asked. So overall we know, okay, what and all are the concepts that are going to be tested. Once we read the case scenario, we will get even more clarity on what exactly is being asked, right? Now, if you look at this particular case scenario, the first paragraph is a little mukha because they're just telling you like Sambhav Limited is a company which is also into manufacturing, which is also into e-commerce operations. They're just introducing the whole story, right? So that one, so you can read it by yourself. I will move on to the second para, which is important to solve the first question of the case scenario 1, which is the company discontinued its operations in the state of Assam. Okay, fine. The company decides to not do its operation in Assam, so you have to apply for cancellation of registration, which also it has done. Now we have studied, in case you go for cancellation of registration, you have to file your final return. Final return will be when it will be 3 months. It will be 3 months from the date of order of cancellation or the date of effective date of cancellation, whichever is later, right? So date of order of cancellation or effective date of cancellation, whichever is later, from there within 3 months you have to file your final return, right? Now let's look at the question and try to figure out the dates. If you look at this particular question, he discontinued his operations on 15th of December. An online application, he filed it on 5th of January. The registration was suspended from the same day, okay? And the order of cancellation was received on 2nd February and the effective date of cancellation was 31st of January. So I need to decide between 31st of January or 2nd of February, whichever is later, which is 2nd of February. From here, within a period of 3 months, I have to file my final return. So 3 months from 2nd of February has to be my answer. So it will be within 3 months from 2nd of February, right? So what I've also done is, if you guys see in this particular PDF that you downloaded from the Telegram, if you want this particular case scenario booklet along with this markings and everything, you can download it from a Telegram group. One more thing that we have done for you is, we have created a summary of what and all concepts have been tested in this particular entire case scenario booklet, what and all concepts have been tested. Because see, now you are doing this case scenario along with me, or maybe you have done it and you have doubt in some questions, so you are referring to this video. But 1.5 day before exam, you just don't have GST to study. You have direct tax also. You also have your income tax paper. So it is not possible for you to go through this entire case scenario booklet all over again, because it has about 50 MCQs. So what we have done for you is, we have compiled all the concepts that have been asked in this particular case scenario booklet and given that as a sheet, a 4-pager sheet. We have given that to you. So before exam, even if you cannot go through this entire 50 case scenario, you can go through all the concepts that have been asked. So in that way, you revise the concept also, and you also will be able to recall the case study. So do it once with me and open also that summary booklet that we have given you, right? It is attached with this particular case scenario booklet itself. Once you open it, you will see that case scenario 1, okay, question number 1, the concept that is tested it, what is the date of filing the final returns, and I've also given the provision along with it, so that it's very easy for you to revise all these case scenario all over again 1.5 day before exam. It will barely take you 45 minutes to revise. So even while you're traveling to your exam center, quickly you can go through all the points that is asked in the MCQ booklet. That way you will cover the MCQ booklet as well, right? So how do I get this PDF along with that 4-page summary sheet of the MCQs, ma'am? You go to the description box or you go to the comment section. I've given you the link of the official Telegram page of Case Academy. Once you will be redirected to that, you can easily download that freely. Right? So without any delay, let's go on to the second question. So the first one is done. The second one, which of the following statement is correct in relation to re-availment of ITC that has been reversed earlier upon the payment of disputed amount by the company to Rudraksh Enterprise? Okay, it is talking something about re-availment of ITC. First, let's look at the provision. Look at the story, right? The company paid an amount of 5 lakhs along with tax payable thereon to its supplier. Okay, so the company, which is, what is the name of this company? Sambhav Limited. So Sambhav Limited has paid 5 lakh rupees along with the GST portion to Rudraksh Enterprises, right? So obviously, because they have made a payment, it's one of their inputs, they can also take the ITC. But we have already learned in section number 16 and the relevant sections of ITC that you can take the ITC only when you receive the goods, only when you make the payment, only when you have filed your return, right? Only when you have a relevant tax invoice, only then you will be able to take a ITC. Right now, if you look at this particular question, there was a dispute on the payment of this particular amount. Okay, pursuant to the settlement of the dispute, in December month of the current financial year, the company had earlier reversed the ITC. Why they would have reversed? Because no payment made, so you cannot take the ITC. Now the dispute has been resolved. They are asking, can we go and avail the ITC again? The answer is yes, pa. You can go and avail. If your dispute is resolved, you have paid the amount, 100% you can go and avail the ITC. What is the problem? You can go and avail it, right? So let's have a look at the question. The company could have re-availed the ITC only up to the 30th November of the previous year. There's nothing like that. Only up to the 30th November of the current year. No. For re-availment, there is no such provision. You can avail it without any time limit. So the option is option number D, right? So second MCQ also done. Let's look at the question for the third MCQ. It talks something about TDS. Okay, so let's read the para and we will know what's the story. The company has provided accommodation services to government agency of Gujarat. Okay, so to Gujarat's government agency, Sambhav Limited has provided some accommodation services. Okay, stay services, right? Because it owns a hotel which is located in Rajasthan. Okay, so Sambhav Limited's hotel is in Rajasthan and it has provided accommodation services to government agency of Gujarat. So if Sambhav Limited's hotel is in Rajasthan, you itself tell me what will be the place of supply. Ma'am, we know this, ma'am. Accommodation, right? We know this, ma'am. 12.3 accommodation, we know, ma'am. So first we have to calculate, first we have to find out the location of supplier. Location of supplier is location of Sambhav Limited, which is Gujarat. Then we have to find out the place of supply. In place of supply of immovable property, we studied, ma'am. First priority will be given to the location of immovable property. What is the location of immovable property? That is Rajasthan. So loss also in Rajasthan, POS also in Rajasthan. When loss and POS are in the same state, it is CGST and SGST, but it is CGST and SGST of Rajasthan. Now you tell me, can I deduct TDS in this case? The answer is no, because if I deduct TDS, I am deducting it on behalf of this Gujarat government. So if I deduct, I have to deposit it in the SGST of Gujarat. But this is what SGST that you are getting? Rajasthan's SGST. Hence the TDS will not apply here. This is one of the most important exemptions of TDS, where TDS will not apply. In the class when we did, I repeatedly told you this particular point, right? And also in our notes of TDS chapter, this is towards the last, right? So please refer to that. So here there will be no TDS. Are you able to understand? Why no TDS? Array, because if you find out the place of supply, you are getting it is intrastate. If it is intrastate, then what is applicable? CGST and SGST is applicable. But this is CGST and SGST of Rajasthan. How can I deduct the TDS of Gujarat government then? Right? That's not possible. So there is no TDS provisions that will hit here. Right? So that is done. Moving on to the next one, which is, during the month of January, Dum Dum Limited supplied goods worth 75 lakhs through the company's e-commerce platform. So like Amazon, Sambhav Limited has an e-commerce platform through which the suppliers will, sell their products. So this Dum Dum Limited has supplied goods worth how much? 75 lakhs. So that is the total sales, and out of this supply, the goods amounting to 15 lakhs were returned in January. That means they are your sales return. So if TCS provisions will definitely hit, but TCS provision we have already learned that is applicable on the net sales. What do you mean by net sales? My sales minus my sales return. Sales is 75 lakh. My sales return is 15 lakh. So if you see, TCS will be applicable only on 60 lakh rupees, right? So till here we have read, and we know that TCS will be applicable on net sales. Net sales at 75 minus 15. So TCS is applicable on 60 lakhs. If you guys remember the example I did in class, 11 lakhs minus 1 lakh, 10 lakh. You remember the example that we did? We also drew that. Same thing applies here, right? Now moving on to the next part of the question. Further, the company also supplied its own products amounting to 20 lakh. You tell me, Titan is supplying its own watches from the Titan website. Is TCS applicable? The answer is no. TCS is not applicable. So for this 20 lakhs, there will be no TCS. And hotel accommodation services supplied through e-commerce portal by hotel owners who are not registered under GST. So this is 9.5 ECO. This is 9.5 ECO. Remember that Sanjay goes to Oyo, he books a Ola, he goes to Oyo, and he orders from Swiggy. Remember that example that we did in class? So here this is 9.5 ECO, notified services, right? And for that, what will not be applicable? TCS will not be applicable. So for this hotel also 20 lakhs, TCS is not applicable. And Sambhav selling his own products in his own website, for that also TCS will not be applicable. TCS is applicable only on this 60 lakh rupees, right? So on 60 lakh rupees, 0.5% is the rate of TCS. So it will be 30,000, which is your option number D, right? Next, moving on to the last MCQ of this particular case study. The company has also completed a project for construction of a road for a government agency. The total time taken was 13 months. Any project, any service which takes more than 3 months is a continuous supply of service. And in case it is a continuous supply of service, in that case, in case it is linked to a milestone, then time of supply will be date of that milestone. Here you see means as per the contract signed, the last tranche of payment of 25% of the total contract value was linked to that means it is attached to a milestone, was linked to the issuance of completion certificate, and the completion certificate is issued on 15th January. So what is the time of supply? The time of supply is also 15th January, right? So that is the entire case study 1. I hope it was absolutely clear. Now we will be moving on to the case scenario 2. In case you want, I'll quickly scroll through the case scenario once. If you want to either mark the answers or note down whatever I have noted down here, you can do that in your booklet as well, right? Pretty simple. Just keep reading them as individual questions and solving them. Do not take stress. Case scenarios are very easy if done in the right manner, right? So I'm quickly scrolling through all the MCQs so that in case you just want to make a note of something, you can pause and make a note, right? Done. Let's move on to the next case study, which is our case scenario 2. So let's start with the case scenario 2, which says that Rapid Move Logistics Private Limited, a registered company in Pune, Maharashtra, is engaged in providing logistic related services and warehousing related services, including transport of goods by road, cold storage, warehousing for perishables and consultancy services. And during the quarter April to June of the current year, the company undertook the following transactions, okay? Logistics services provided. So we have provided logistics services. That means this is my outward supply, right? So logistics services provided to Mercers Hanuman Enterprises registered in Amaravati, Maharashtra for 28 lakhs and to Mercers Shiv Industries registered in Gwalior, Madhya Pradesh for 22 lakhs. So if you see, my total outward supply will be 28 lakhs plus 22 lakhs, right? Because this is my outward supply. One I have made in Maharashtra, one I have made in Madhya Pradesh. So 28 lakhs plus 22 lakhs. Let's look at the next particular adjustment, right? Services by way of warehousing of vegetable provided to Mercers Safal Farms registered in Solapur, Maharashtra, and Mercers Fresh Veggies registered in Vapi, Gujarat for 8 lakhs and 4 lakhs respectively. Okay, so this is also my outward supply because the word provided is given. Okay, I have provided these services, so 8 lakh and 4 lakh respectively. The next one, sale of land of Mr. Amit in Pune for 120 lakhs excluding stamp duty of 2,50,000. Excluding stamp duty of 2,50,000. You tell me, does that make any difference? Will I even consider this to be a supply? Ma'am, it is sale of land, immovable property. It is not even a goods we have studied because goods means every kind of movable property. This comes under Schedule 3 negative list, which means it is neither supply of goods nor supply of service. When it is not even supply, then I will not include it in my outward supply also, right? So this will not come. Next is, it also received. I have received consultancy services, means this is my inward supply, right? I have received consultancy services from Mr. Shreyas, an architect, in the month of March of the previous financial year for rupees 80,000, which is exclusive of GST of 18%, but the ITC was not availed until now. So I have taken the services from this guy on March of this particular previous financial year. I have not taken the ITC till now. Okay, no problem. Actually, you can take the ITC from the end of the financial year. You can take it before 30th November or date of filing the annual return, right? So if it is before that, yes, you can take the ITC. The related invoice was dated 20th March of the previous year. Okay, so it's dated 20th March. You can take the ITC either before 30th November or date of filing the annual return, whichever is earlier. Okay, let's see that. I have supplied goods to a newly opened warehouse in Bengaluru. I have supplied, right? That means this is my outward supply to my newly opened warehouse in Bengaluru unit. So it is my warehouse only in Bengaluru unit. That means I am located where? This guy is in Maharashtra. From here I am sending it to Bangalore. That means we both are distinct persons. So we have studied in schedule number 1. Distinct person even without consideration, it is actually supply, right? So these both are distinct person. Will I add it in my outward supply? The answer is absolutely yes. So 6 lakh rupees will be added in my outward supply. In addition to the aforesaid transactions, RLPL spent an amount of 5 lakh rupees on the procurement of certain goods which were distributed as part of CSR expenditure. You tell me, I purchased some goods distributed freely as part of CSR. Will I be able to take ITC on that goods? The answer is no. I taught you in block credit very clearly. Free samples given, goods are destroyed, goods are lost, given freely as CSR. You will not be able to take any kind of credit. So this is a block credit. You will not be able to take, right? During the same quarter, it also received a subsidy of rupees 40,000 from an environmental NGO. Okay, subsidy from a non-government organization, very good, for adopting green refrigeration technology and using electric vehicles for logistics, right? The subsidy was linked to performance, but the subsidy was not linked to price. Now you itself think and tell me that in case the subsidy is from a non-NGO, to add it in the value of supply, right, you need to satisfy one more condition, which is it should be linked to price. In this case, it is only linked to performance, it is not linked to price. Hence, in that case, it will not be considered for value of supply. And the next is, the company has been compliant in filing the periodic returns and statement on the time during the year and has filed the annual return for the preceding year on 15th October. It has filed its annual return on 15th October. Based on the facts of the case, choose the most appropriate answer between question number 1 to question number 5. Okay, so for question number 1 to 5, let's choose the answer. First is they are asking what will be the aggregate turnover of RLPL for the quarter April to June. I think that too we have already calculated, right? 28 lakhs, 22 lakhs, 8 lakhs, 4 lakhs and 6 lakhs. 8 lakh, 4 lakh and 6 lakhs, right? So it comes to a total of how much, guys? 68 lakhs. Which is exactly the option that I have chose, 68 lakhs. Next is, which of the following options is correct regarding the availment of ITC to RLPL in respect of GST paid on procurement of goods meant for the purpose of CSR. So for this though, you don't even have to read the case study, because you clearly know for CSR activity, if I have distributed some goods freely, on that ITC is blocked, you will not be allowed to take the ITC. So the amount of ITC related to the procurement of goods is not available to RLPL company, right? So that is a block credit. So this part is also done. Question number 3, RLPL can claim ITC of the invoice dated 20th March of the previous year up to the current year. Till when they can claim the ITC? It is 30th November or date of filing annual return. Date of filing annual return, we saw it was 15th October. It was given in the last para, right? Whichever is earlier, so it is going to be 15th October. Question number 4, subsidy received from an environmental NGO, it will be excluded from the value of supply. It is because it is only directly linked to performance, it is not directly linked to price, right? So this will be excluded. And the last one is, which of the following statement is true in relation to non-payment of consideration by Bengaluru unit to Pune office? So if I am, both people are distinct persons, we told that in case any transaction happens between you, we will consider that to be supply. Okay, now the company wants to avail ITC, but we are blocking the ITC, saying that because you did not make the payment, we will block the ITC. In general scenario, is it correct? Yes, because if payment is not made within 1 to 180 days, then you cannot take the ITC. Right, I have not made payment to my supplier, I am only asking the GST department, give me ITC. Department will tell no. At least department will tell for once if you want take, but within 180 days if you do not make the payment, you have to reverse the ITC. But this condition will not apply in case the transaction is between a distinct person. Because you tell me, I am sending to one of my branch which is there in Pune, or here in this case which is there in Bengaluru. I am in Pune, I am sending to one of my branches which is there in Bengaluru. You tell me, first of all, GST department, we don't understand why you made this itself a supply. Because I am sending to one of my branches. But because you told, I accepted. Now you are telling pay GST also on that. We told no, that is not possible. So department also told that yeah, that's not fair enough. Just to track the transactions, we told that this is a supply, you don't have to pay the GST, you will still be able to take the ITC. This restriction of 180 days for payment of consideration is not applicable in case it is a distinct person. In case of RCM and distinct person, this payment should be made within 180 days to avail the ITC. That condition is not applicable, right? So this case scenario is also done. This completes our entire discussion of case scenario 2 as well. Relatively a simpler question compared to case scenario 1, right? So I'll quickly scroll through so that in case you want to make a note of something, you can do that, and then we'll move on to case scenario 3. Yeah. So that's the end of case scenario 2. Let's start with case scenario 3. So let's move on to the next case study, right? My case study number 3. So what is case study number 3 saying? It says that ABC Associates engaged in the hospitality sector in the state of Rajasthan under the name Paradise Resorts commenced operations on 1st April. Its aggregate turnover crossed rupees 20 lakhs on 1st of June. Okay, and it applied for registration on 15th of June. So did you apply for registration within 30 days? The answer is yes. If you applied for registration within a period of 30 days, your effective date of registration will be what? It will be 1st of June. Though you received the certificate of registration on 1st of July, your effective date of registration will be 1st of June, right? So can you issue a revised tax invoice? The answer is yes. Revised tax invoice can be issued from 1st June to 1st July. Whatever transactions you did, you can give a revised tax invoice, and revised tax invoice should be given within a period of 1 month from the time you get the certificate of registration, right? From the date you get the certificate of registration. Let's read the first question. Whether the issuance of revised tax invoice by Paradise Resort is valid as per the relevant provision. Okay, these guys, they have issued the revised tax invoice for the period beginning with 15th June. Arey 15th June to you applied for registration, no, and that too you did within 30 days. So you for you the effective date of registration is 1st of June. So 1st of June till 1st of July you can issue the revised tax invoice, right? So here if you see, what they did was not correct. No, the revised tax invoices may be issued for a period starting from 1st of June up till 1st of July within a 1 month period from 1st July. That is the date of registration, right? So that is done. For its hotel interiors, Paradise Resorts availed interior design services free of cost from DEF Interiors, Japan, whose proprietor is the son of the partners of Paradise Resorts. So one of the, let's say Paradise Resorts has a couple of partners. In that one of the partners, son is only giving interior services for us from abroad, right? So import of interior services we are doing from Japan, which is given by a related party. So if related party is giving any services which is related to course of furtherance of business, even if it is without consideration, okay, even if it is free of cost, still it is a supply. Schedule 1 para for you, remember, related party plus course of furtherance, it will still be a supply, right? So let's read it. Whether there will be any GST liability on the interior designing services provided free of cost by DEF Interiors, the answer is yes, right? Which of the following statements is correct? Yes, since the import of services is from a related party and it is for the course of furtherance of business, it will be treated as supply even if it is made without consideration, right? So that is also done. Mr. Ajay, a GST registered person in Madhya Pradesh, availed lodging accommodation service at the resort for 2 nights and 3 days. Okay. For the New Year celebration, Paradise Resorts engaged Dharohar Group, a classical music troupe, for the performance at an agreed consideration of 2.5 lakhs. So in exemption chapter we read, in case it is classical music, classical dance or some kind of theatre related to classical, right? In that case, if the consideration is up to 1.5 lakhs, then it is exempt. Here the consideration is 2.5 lakhs, so it will be taxable. What is the GST treatment of the performance of the Dharohar Group? It will be the entire consideration of 2.5 lakhs will be taxable. Next is a marriage function was hosted at the hotel premises on 1st of June. So, okay, it is time of supply of service because you're hosting a marriage event on 1st of June. The invoice for the same was issued on 20th of June. So, have you issued the invoice within 30 days? The answer is yes. So, it is time of supply of service where invoice is issued within the prescribed period. So, in that case, time of supply will be date of invoice or date of payment, whichever is earlier. What is the date of invoice? 20th of June. What is the date of payment? 29th of June. So whichever is earlier, 28th of June will be the time of supply. So it is time of supply of service where the invoice has been issued within the prescribed time limit. So it will be date of invoice or date of payment, whichever is earlier. So 28th June will be your time of supply. Right? And the last is, which of the following statement is correct? The place of supply of service provided to Mr. Ajay will be the location of the immovable property. Yes, we have read, right? Place of supply of immovable property, we have already read. It will be the location of immovable property. So yes, this statement is correct. Next is, no GST is payable on transfer of business as a going concern. This also we read in the chapter exemptions. Miscellaneous exemption we read, and even in ITC chapter we had one adjustment like this, right? You remember one of the questions that we did in class, right? So in case it is transfer of business as a going concern, then on that there is no GST, right? So this is the entire case scenario 3, which is very, very small relatively compared to 1 and 2. I'll quickly scroll through that. In case you want to make any note, you can do so, and then we move on to the 4th case scenario. Right? So let's move on to the next case scenario. So let's move on to case study 4. Case study 4 is mainly relating to the exemption that you studied for residential societies, right? So residential society, what did we study, ma'am? Recall, we forgot. Okay. So residential society, we studied if the monthly maintenance that you charge is 7,500 or less than that, then it is exempt. Otherwise, it is going to be taxable, right? But however, you need to remember in this 7,500, you do not include any statutory dues. For example, property tax, water tax, this and all is not included. Other tavara or residential society 7,500 க்கு மேல வாங்குறா அப்படினா அதுல என்னவும் பே பண்ணனும், ஜிஎஸ்டியும் பே பண்ணனும். அப்படி 7,500 அதோட கம்மியா இருக்குனா என்ன பே பண்ண தேவையில்லை, ஜிஎஸ்டி பே பண்ண தேவையில்லை, right? So let's have a look at the question. Madhav Housing Society is registered under GST in the state of Uttar Pradesh, Lucknow, Uttar Pradesh. The society has 200 flats and 20 shops as under. So in this 3 BHK are 50, which is in block A, and 4 BHK are in block B, which are also 50 units, 3 BHK in block C, which is another 50 units, 4 BHK in block D, which is another 50 units, and in block E you have 10 shops, block F you have 10 shops. Flats and shops are members of the Madhav Housing Society, obviously, right? So they have to be the members. The society received and paid the following amounts in the month of January. Okay. So maintenance was collected including 1,000 rupees for 3 BHK flat, which is 1,000 rupees is the property tax, and 10,000 rupees is going to be the total maintenance, out of which 1,500 is the property tax in case you are a 4 BHK. So I told you, we will see whether the value is more than 7,500. If it is more than 7,500, then it is going to be taxable. But we told in that value 7,500, you will not include the statutory dues, right? So here if you see, property tax is a statutory due. So 8,000 I am collecting for flat, 3 BHK flat, but in that 1,000 rupees is what? Property tax. So I will reduce that 1,000. So effectively how much am I collecting? 7,000. Is it equal to or less than 7,500? The answer is yes. So this will be exempt, that you collect from the 3 BHK flat. But if you look at the 4 BHK, how much maintenance I'm collecting? 10,000. Property taxes, how much? 1,500 given here. So if I reduce that, I'm getting 8,500. So is it more than 7,500? The answer is yes. So will I collect GST on this? The answer is yes, right? And maintenance charges for shop is 7,000. So again, that is below or equal to 7,500. So again on shops, there's going to be no GST. On the maintenance that you pay for shop, there's going to be no GST. Interest is 75,000 that you received on your FD. I already taught you in exemption chapter. Interest, except for that credit card, okay? Interest on loan, interest on advance will all be exempt. So interest on fixed deposit is going to be exempt, right? After that, we have been given information that they have purchased some 4 generators, but this is purchase, which means this is my inward supply. First, let me see if there's any question related to outward supply that has been asked. Total value of exempted towards outward supply. What is the total outward supply that is exempted? See, for 3 BHK flat, it will be exempt because the value is less than or equal to 7,500. So 7,000 into 100 units is there, because in 2 blocks, 50 plus 50, 100 units. So 7 lakhs. For shops also it is exempt. So 7,000 into 20, 1,40,000. Then also the property tax part that you pay, that is also exempt, right? On property tax you will not pay GST. So 1,500 in case you are a 4 BHK flat, 1,000 in case you are a 3 BHK plus flat, into their 100 units, 100 such flats, so which amounts to a total of 2,50,000. And interest on loan is also exempt, 75,000. So if you add the total, you get 11,65,000, which is your option number A, which is your total exempt supply. The next question that they have asked you is how much ITC you can avail. Okay, for that we'll have to read the next part, because we just now read, whatever we read is only till outward. We have to read the inward also. 4 generators, each costing 1 lakh, were purchased from a registered supplier. So you purchase 4 generators. Okay, the cost of each generator is 1 lakh. 2 were installed on 3 BHK blocks and 2 were installed on 4 BHK blocks. And the amount was though capitalized, there is no depreciation that is charged. So if there is no depreciation charge, can I take ITC? The answer is yes. But again, there is a catch here. You see there are totally 4 generators, 2 fixed in 3 BHK flat and 2 fixed in 4 BHK flat. You tell me in 3 BHK flat in outward, did you pay GST? The answer is no, ma'am, it was exempt. So you tell me on outward I did not pay GST. Will they allow me to take ITC? The answer is no. So on the 2 generators that you fitted in the 3 BHK flat, you will not get ITC. It's because on the outward supply also, no GST was paid. Department is telling I will give you ITC, but you should do some outward supply. No, without doing outward supply, how can you ask me for ITC? So on this, there is no ITC. But on this 4 BHK, were we paying GST? The answer is yes, because the value exceeded 7,500. So will ITC be available? Yes. So there are 2 generators. So 2 into cost of each generator is 1 lakh. So 2 lakhs total into rate of tax is 18%. So 18,000 each. CGST and SGST. Right. So that is the second part's answer. Third part, what have they given you? Gross GST liability we have to calculate. Okay, we'll calculate that. Before that, if you see the other one, sanitary fitting costing rupees 25,000 purchased for block A. Block A is what? 3 BHK block. So in that you're not paying any outward tax. Will you get ITC? The answer is no. 3 members own 2 units each of 3 BHK. So here no. Actually this information is immaterial. But why they gave you is, some students they will think over smart. How means? They will tell 3 members own 2 flats each. Right, in 3 BHK. So in 3 BHK, what is the maintenance? Ma'am, we know, ma'am, the maintenance is how much? They have given here 8,000 minus 1,000, so 7,000. So 7,000 into 2. Because 3 members are owning 2 flats each, will be 14. So some people can tell over smartly, ma'am, if I combine, it is exceeding 7,500, so GST will be applicable. The answer is no. This exemption will be calculated per person per flat, right? So per person per flat it is less than 7,500, so it is exempt. So this is just to confuse you. It's an immaterial information. And at the last, what have they given you? Last question was gross GST liability. Gross GST liability, only GST is going to be paid. Outward tax applies only for this 4 BHK guys, which is 10,000 minus 1,500, which is 8,500. And how many units are there? There are 100 4 BHK units. So it is 8,50,000. And in that if you calculate GST, 8,50,000 into, what is the tax rate given? 8,50,000 into 9%. 76,500 and 76,500 each. Right? So that ends our next question as well. I'll quickly scroll through the case scenario so that you can go through that case scenario 4. So that in case you want to make a note of something, you can go through it. Yeah. So that ends our discussion of this case scenario also. Let's move on to the next. Hello everybody, let's move on and discuss the question number 5. Raghu Impex Limited, registered in the state of Uttar Pradesh, was involved in supplying stationery on a pan-India basis. The company did not opt for registration under GST. The proper officer of GST, based on the inquiries, find that the company is liable for registration and he registered it on a temporary basis on 21/1/2024. So in registration chapter, there is a point saying that in case the company does not register itself voluntarily, if it's liable to register and it does not register itself voluntarily, then the proper officer can suo moto go and register the company for a temporary basis, and once the proper officer registers it on a temporary basis, the company must itself go and complete the registration process within a period of 90 days from the temporary registration. If you don't register, proper officer can suo moto register you on a temporary basis, but within 90 days of the temporary registration, you must go and complete the registration process, right? So in this question, on getting the temporary registration, Raghu Impex Limited needs to apply for registration up to within a period of 90 days. So if you calculate that, you're getting 21st April 2024. But here the only problem is, some students ask me this doubt. 2024, yes, it's a leap year, okay, but the institute has not considered the same. They considered Feb has only 28 days and they have calculated it. So until they mention it to you specifically in the exam, you can also calculate in the same manner, right? Moving on to the next part of the question. They say that the company had made the following outward supply of printing material in the month of February. In Telangana state, for the agricultural department, they have supplied, and the invoice value, not the contract value, be careful, the invoice value is 2,60,400, and in UP, for the UP department, it is 2,95,000, and for the Delhi Transport Corporation, it is how much? 2,97,360. Now we know that obviously by reading this itself you would have understood that they are trying to emphasize on the TDS part, right? But TDS will be applicable only if the contract value is more than 2,50,000, and we know that the contract value excludes the GST. Without the GST, if the contract's value is more than 2,50,000, then TDS provisions will be applicable. So if you see this 2,60,400 is inclusive of GST, so 2,60,400 into 100 divided by 105 is equal to 2,48,000, right? So since it is less than 2,50,000, in this first case there will be no TDS provisions. Similarly here, if you see it is 2,95,000, so 2,95,000 into 100 divided by 118 will give you 2,50,000, right? And we have told the value should be more than 2,50,000. So here also there will be no TDS provisions. Next, it is 2,97,360 into 100 divided by 118. You're getting 2,52,000, which is more than 2,50,000. The contract value exceeds 2,50,000. Hence here the TDS provisions will be applicable, right? And the rate of TDS is 1% each. So in respect of printing material supplied in the month of February, the company shall be subjected to a total GST TDS of 2,52,000 into 2%, which is 5,040. Is that absolutely clear, guys? And then moving on to the next part of the question. In the month of September 2024, the company found that while issuing the invoice to the customer, the company erroneously charged a higher value. So 52,000 of higher value has been charged. So what will you do? In case any error is made in the invoice, we give a debit or credit note. In the current case, since you have charged a higher value, you will give a credit note. And the invoice is issued on 31/3/2024, and the company issued the credit note on 1/10/2024. The company filed the relevant annual return on 15/6/2024. And the return for the month of September and October were filed on 31/10 and 19/11, right? So let's see what is the question related to credit note. What is the maximum time limit available for declaring the details in the credit note? So here what a lot of students made mistake was availing credit note. You remember we studied a time limit. They went and wrote that. So that is wrong, right? So here for filing the return, what is the time limit? So here if you see, this is in which month? Credit note is given in 1st October 2024. So when you are filing the return for October month, 19th November 2024. So by 19th November 2024, you can give this detail in your return as well, right? So it's a pretty simple MCQ compared to, as you can see, as we are going by the MCQs, it's getting more simpler. Unlike the first, second that you saw, the others are pretty much simpler. Again, I'll go through the entire MCQ. If you want to make a note of something, you can make a note, right? So mainly this particular topic, this particular MCQ spoke about registration, TDS mainly, and then we had a credit note. Right? So that completes it. Let's move on to the next particular MCQ, which is case scenario 6. Let's move on to our case study number 6, right? Which says that Sandeep, a registered person in Pune, Maharashtra, is engaged in the business of providing training services to various registered and unregistered persons. During the month of October, he conducted training campus at different cities in UP for the general public and received 3,45,000 from such campus. He was hired by Arihant Pharma Limited, a registered company in Goa, to provide training to its employees for a consideration of 2,25,000. So this is also forward charge mechanism. This is also forward charge mechanism, right? And what will be the place of supply? Sandeep is in Pune, Maharashtra, so that is the location of supplier. And in the first case, if you see, they are conducting it in UP and they are collecting money from the general public. That means general public, so general public will not be registered under GST. So what will be the place of supply in case of training services? If it is B2B, then location of that particular recipient, right? If it is B2C, then location where the training is conducted. Where is the training conducted? UP. So Maharashtra is location of supplier, UP is place of supply. That means it is interstate, right? Similarly, here if you see, with this Arihant Pharma Limited, it is registered in Goa, right? And it's a B2B transaction. So what will be the place of supply? Location of the recipient. Location of the recipient, Goa. Location of the supplier, Maharashtra. These are two different states. Hence again, it will be interstate. The training was given to 20 employees at Pune, Maharashtra. Okay. Sandeep also gave his residential property in Mumbai. He gave his residential property in Mumbai to Arihant Pharma Limited for stay of his employees. Okay. Okay. So he gave his particular residential property for stay of employees of Arihant Pharma at rupees 10,000 per month, which was for a period of 30 days. So if you give residential dwelling to a registered person for their employees, then GST will be applicable and under RCM. Remember, we did that entire chart, residential dwelling. See from the point of view of recipient. If the recipient is unregistered, recipient is registered. I'm not going into the unregistered part because here the recipient is registered. If recipient is registered and if it is for his employees, then it will be taxable under RCM. So in this case, GST is applicable, but it is reverse charge mechanism. So if you look at the first part of the question, the amount of interstate outward supply on which Sandeep shall pay the tax. That means they are asking about cases of forward charge mechanism, FCM. Because in which Sandeep shall pay the tax, right? So which is the first two, 3,45,000 and 2,25,000. So it's a total of 5,70,000. That's your option number B. Next is, so this is done, this entire paragraph was about outward supply. Next is, Sandeep hired a bus from Ravi at rupees 50,000 for 30 days to transport his trainee. The bus has enough seating capacity to transport 20 trainees and cost of fuel is included. If you remember the chart, here your supplier is registered, right? So in that case, what will be applicable? It is a case of forward charge mechanism. Right, and here the next is Sandeep also received security services from Protect You Security Limited for rupees 35,000. So in security services also I thought you security services RCM will be applicable only if the supplier is other than body corporate and recipient is a registered person. Here the supplier, the company Protect Your Security Limited, which means it's a company, which means it's a body corporate, then there cannot be a case of RCM. So in this case also what will apply? It is forward charge mechanism only. That is, I will pay to the supplier, supplier will give it to the government, right? So here they are asking you amount on which Sandeep is required to pay under reverse charge mechanism, nil, because in both the cases it is forward charge mechanism. Right? So that's about the question. The last one, what they have asked, total tax payable before setting off input tax credit. Before setting off input tax credit, we already calculated it is 5,70,000. Both are interstate, so the rate will be 18% of IGST. If you multiply, you're getting 1,02,600. Ma'am, what about that house, ma'am? What about that house that he gave? Array, in that, the RCM is applicable, no? So will he pay? No, he will not pay, because in that reverse charge mechanism will be applicable, right? So I'll quickly scroll through the entire question so that you can quickly make a note of it, and then we move on to the next MCQ. That's all about the MCQ 6. Let's move on to the case study 7.